Welcome to the Challenges of Change, the podcast where we explore the transformative journey towards self-improvement and personal growth. I'm your host, Laura, a mindset coach in the health and fitness industry, here to guide you through the hurdles that life throws at you. In each episode, we'll delve into practical strategies and insightful discussions to help you manage stress, regulate your emotions, upgrade your mindset, and ultimately reclaim your sense of worth. I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey of change, challenges, and self-discovery. And we are back for another episode of the Challenges of Change. And you know her, you love her. Jess is with me today to deliver a really beautiful, scenic journey that is perfect for this time of year. And rather than me just kind of kicking things off and telling you what she brought to the table, I'm going to let Jess lead today and tell us a little bit about the journey we're going to go on.
I love the way you phrase that. So, yes, I have a journey in mind. And so we're going to walk it together. And I hope throughout the course of this session today, not only do you get to hear us talking about the point we're trying to make, but also you get to experience it in the journey that we're going to take as well. So, what I want to talk about today, first and foremost, I'm calling it perfectionism. So I love that you pointed out that perfectionism is really great to talk about this time of year, because honestly, when the holidays come around and then the beginning of a new year, we tend to get up inside of our heads about what it is we truly want, right? The ending of a year makes you take a step back and start thinking about, what do I want? What outcomes do I want? Where do I want to be? Where do I want to see myself 1 year from now? Do you find that to be true?
Absolutely. It's like a natural reflection time period where, I mean, New Year's resolutions is a thing because people are setting new goals for the new year. So I think you're directly on point. And I think, the mindset behind how we set goals and how we envision, and even the lens through which we reflect, right? Like when we're reflecting on what we wanted this year to look like and what it was in reality. We wanted it to look a certain way, but why? What do we think we were going to get if it looked that way versus the way it ultimately unfolded? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think a lot of us are feeling this way this time of year.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. It's part reflection and part planning in advance for the future, and it's a weird little transition that we're in. And so I thought I would talk about perfectionism, and what I mean by that is this pull for us. A lot of high achievers have this, and this pull for us to want things to go a certain way.
Hmm.
And that I think there's a spectrum to perfectionism. So let's just like
Sure.
kind of cat that out for just a second. When I say perfectionism, some of my clients will say, I'm not a perfectionist. But then we'll get into a long conversation, and they very much are. And
Yeah.
so let's talk about that a little bit. So perfectionism doesn't mean you do everything perfectly.
No, and like I think the hardest part of perfectionism is it is such a hard thing to qualify and quantify because it's so distorted. Like what you think perfect looks like going forward and what you experience perfect in reflection are going to be different because we want different experiences. And when it doesn't go the way we thought it should go, we look at it, well, it wasn't the reason it didn't go that way is because it wasn't perfect, or this is how it needs to go to get to the outcome. So there's this like this gripping, this attachment of this is how it needs to look, or this is how it needs to go. And perfect according to who? How does it change day to day? How does it adjust? Like, how do you, like, let's say your New Year's resolution is to like go to the gym more, because that's such a common one. That doesn't mean you work out like for 6 hours every single day. That would be overtraining, right? But
Yeah.
like even the if you don't work out at all and you set a New Year's resolution of working out 5 times a week, you're setting yourself up to fail. So that means if 1 week you don't get 5 workouts in, you're not being perfect according to the perfectionism mindset. And it's such a shaming way of thinking. But I
Yeah.
think it, to your point of like, why do we do it? And like, what's motivating that to be even to begin with?
Yeah. And so, well, I think you hit a lot of nails on the head right there. You said a lot and it all resonated really well. And I think what you really captured is this essence of I want it to look a certain way, I want it to go this way. And if we just take that step back, we recognize what we're really thinking there is not I want it to be perfect. That might not be what's registering. What's registering is what I want looks like this.
And there's, well, actually, I'm curious. Do you find that like there's, if I do it this way, then there's the kind of sometimes unconscious, but then I'll get blank.
Yeah, that definitely steps in there. And so, yeah, so highlighting that is more like, yeah, it's either it looks this way or this is the only way to get
Right.
what I want.
Like if I want to have a good year, it needs to look like this. If I want to lose weight, it has to look like this. If I want
Yep.
to build my business, these are the things that have to get done and they must go this way.
Yeah. And so just even saying those things and I have the audience, I want the audience to do this too. Think, oh, it has to go this way. This is the only way. These things have to happen in order for me to have it. This is the only way to get there. Right. So just thinking about those things, I can already feel my muscles tensing. How about you?
Oh God, I feel nauseous. Like I noticed degrees of, I remember so blatantly, like I was writing a sign for an expo I was doing, and it was win a month of free coaching or something was what it was saying. And it took me, I'm not even kidding, 2 hours just to write that on the whiteboard because I couldn't write it in a way that was centered. And then my mom flew in and surprised me, and I didn't know it. And then she came in right, and I was when I was in the middle of this, 2 hours in, right? And then I was like, "Can you just do this?" Like, because she's always been good with that. And then I watched her spend another hour and a half doing the exact same thing I did. And I was like, "Huh, this is totally where I got it." But
Yeah.
I realized in reflection, like that was me being perfect. Like, why did it matter if it was centered? Why was it really worth 2 hours? What was that ultimately giving me? And
Yeah.
I mean, we'll explore that as we go on, but I say it because I think it sneaks up on us. And if you are reflective and like, did you like the thing I feel most common, and tell me if this is for you, is so often at the end of the night, people run through the list of the things they didn't do.
So often.
Do you think that's a perfectionism trait?
Yeah. It's giving you a score
Yeah.
on how you performed.
But you don't look at what you did do. You
No.
only look at what you didn't do.
Yeah, our brain is trained to do that. So that's a human thing.
Yeah.
But the perfectionist will go, how did I not add up? How did, where did I fall short? What could I have done better?
Mm-hmm.
Notice how some of those terms sound like I really want something better for myself
Yeah.
in the moment. I
Yeah.
want to do better. I want to show up better, but the practice itself isn't balanced.
Yeah.
So you brought up why do we do this?
Yeah.
Why do we why do we tend to go in this perfectionist manner? Um, well, there's a lot of reasons for a lot of different people, but I would say my mind goes to more than likely it's going to be how do we go to perfectionism? I'm saying control. I want to say safety and control. What do you think?
I I agree. I also think it's somewhat of a habit, like nature versus nurture type thing. Like I mentioned how like I witnessed my mom and I mean I've also witnessed my mom do a bunch of things I don't do, right? But there's obviously some sentiment of that I saw that being a success blueprint. So I think some of it is modeling, but why do we pick up the things we pick up? Because I think in some degree we have experiences where it's given us safety.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
It worked at some point, and so if so, I like all of this. I think it's I think we want to break it up like this because I think our audience is going to find very different reasons why they think things should be a certain way or want to do things a certain way. So I'll take safety and control. You take the habit. Safety and control. The reason I think that perfectionism comes with that is because we feel like we can control the outcome if we're controlling our behavior to get that outcome, right? I like it nice, neat, tidy. I like things in boxes. So
Mm-hmm.
that to me says, um, if I can control this, I can control the uncertain aspects of it, right? I'm going to mitigate uncertainty by using perfectionism to create safety through control.
Mm-hmm.
So, so how about for
Well, that brought up an interesting thought in my head about what habit it is. And I think it might, so you might have to feel this one out with me, but I think it might be a habit of distrusting ourselves,
mm,
right? Like
yeah,
the categorization, right? Especially in the world we live in, there's so many things to keep like track of. And I literally, it's funny because I spent like 4 hours last week going through everything that I have on my plate and trying to create a system that organizes everything to make it easier for me to know if I have a pulse on everything or what's not getting my attention because it's hard to keep your mind on everything that's there. And
yeah,
so when we see things going a certain way, I think that that gives us a categorization that we have that. Like that can kind of, it's almost like compartmentalizing the mental load in a way of like, okay, I don't need to think about this. I've already checked that box. If these things happen in this order, like that'll be fine, right? So it
mhm,
might be a habit of distrusting ourselves to protect ourselves, right? It'll be fine. I will have honored that task. I will have served that purpose. But I do think it's the I don't know. Like no one likes I don't know. Whether it's starting a new adventure, whether it's being a new parent, whether it's building a new habit, whether it's unlearning stuff. Like you have to go through this uncertainty phase and no one likes that. And so what happens when there's uncertainty? Our brain naturally craves control. So I think it's a habit of safety, but I also kind of think it's a habit of us distrusting ourselves and doubting ourselves.
yeah, that we could survive that uncertainty. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that like, well, not only that we could survive it, but it makes me think of the value of adventure, right? Like you can look at things unfolding the way they unfold as scary, right?
Mhm.
And in certain ways it is, but you could also look at it as an adventure. Like there was this moment with a friend of mine when we traveled to Norway that this was what year are we in? This was almost 9 years ago, and this is such a imprint moment where like I chose adventure instead of fear. It was 2 a.m. We were in Norway driving. We literally took like a train to a bus to a boat to a bus to a train to a car. Like it was insanity. And there's one road to get to our Airbnb, and we were doing this like epic 8 hour hike the next day. And on our journey, the one road was closed. So here we are in a foreign country at 2 a.m. The only road to get to our Airbnb is completely shut down. Any
Mm.
rerouting would be an 8 hour drive. And something happened at like the same time where my friend, she started to cry and I started to laugh. And we both looked at each other at the same moment and we're like, why are you crying, laughing? And she's like, how are you not crying? Like, what the fuck are we gonna do? And I was like, I don't fucking know, but isn't this all about adventure? Isn't this why we do what we do? Like, this whole trip was us just exploring and figuring it out. Like, this doesn't look good, but girl, we're about to create some memories, and I don't know what the fuck they're gonna look like, but like, I'm happy I'm with you. And
Yeah.
she was like, you know what? Yes, I'm taking that. And it was like that, it was like this weird moment where I didn't know what we were going to do. We were literally 10 minutes from sleeping in our car because we didn't have any other option. And we ended up, our third hotel, we ended up finding a room with a twin bed and slept head to toe in the bed for about 4 hours before we did this epic hike. But I say all that because it was one of those moments where we had the plan. The plan didn't go our way, and we were in a really bad situation in a foreign country at 2 a.m. What are you supposed to do in that situation? And I thought crying would make it harder.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when we're looking at the attachment, the clinging to the plan for safety because of distrust, whatever it might be, I think it comes back to like, where did perfect come from? Because there's a degree of adventure in learning and understanding and seeing things that you didn't know you saw. Like the purpose of that trip was for me to bond with my friend and have some beautiful hiking scenery views, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't to come back with a life lesson about viewing challenges as an adventure, but that's ultimately one of the most impactful things that came of the trip.
Yeah. And it didn't take away from it, right? It added to it when you were able to look back on it later.
100%. And like her and I still talk about it. Like when I started my business, anytime that I would have like a, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do moment, she's like, okay, how are we gonna laugh at it? What adventure are we gonna take? And I
Yeah.
like that's all she would say. And I knew exactly what she was referencing because it was such a palpable moment of like choice.
Yeah.
And I
What a
think,
beautiful illustration of that, too. I love that. Go ahead.
well, I think choice is the freedom to
Yeah.
perfectionism is like recognizing, and I don't want to jump ahead because we're on a journey here and like we're seeing what perfectionism is, according to who, where it came from, what purpose it served, be that control and safety, or whether it's just a habit of categorization or a distrust. And we do it because it serves us. It's given us positive outcomes, but it's also cost us, right?
Yeah, I think that's where this is sliding into. So I think you reflected on the distrust part just to put a pin or just to hem that up, and then let's walk into what it is going to cost us, like why perfectionism can hold us back. So just to reiterate what you're saying, the distrust piece is really more along the lines of I don't trust myself to get the outcome I want unless I have the plan in place.
I also think it's a fear of how people might think of me if I stumble while I figure it out.
I also think that distrust too is saying, hey, unless my plan is in place, I don't trust that the world, the universe, or whatever is going to come to meet me where I am, right? I need to follow the line. I need to follow the rules to get to where I want. And so how does that take away from our experience when we hold on to that perfectionism? And I think what I'd like to contribute to that is this idea around constricting our viewpoint or our perspective. So in your beautiful example, your friend's viewpoint or perspective was very constricted because she was bought into the
Hmm.
plan alone.
Hmm.
And once the plan was quote unquote ruined, it created a breakdown
Yeah.
in that moment. Whereas you saw adventure, but had you not been there to offer that up, had you been a different personality in that moment, the
Hmm.
two of you would have been miserable
Oh, yeah.
in that moment. And so I think it really highlights how that grip on perfectionism of needing to follow the plan, having it look the way that you want it to, creates a constriction on how we're viewing the experience that we're having,
Yeah.
and only seeing it going one way when the reality is that there's this opportunity that you represent in that story where we can expand the way that we're looking at this and say, wait a minute, This is an opportunity for adventure. We're creating a trip here. This is the purpose here, is to create memories.
Yeah.
So whether those memories followed a 10-step plan to a T, or whether those memories involve us adapting to the situation as it is and making the most of it, is really a choice for us here this month.
Yeah. Well said. I think it's I don't think it's easy, and I think that's an important thing to comment on. And like it might sound simple in how we're breaking it down, but the act like we're talking about control and safety at the same time. And when your
Yeah.
body, your somatic nervous system, living intelligence has been used to a certain degree of safety and you're trying to change that, it's very healthy for your body to respond with tension at the idea of you making a different choice. And I really want to acknowledge that because something you and I have talked about separate from where we are right now is like the gap in integration. Like we can understand things. We understand don't eat crappy food, but we keep eating crappy food because it tastes delicious. We understand, don't drink more than X amount of drinks, and yet, we're all going to make that mistake again. Hey guys, it's me. I just want to pause you for a brief moment because there's something important that I think you need to know about. So often when I'm in sessions, I hear people talking about how lonely they are, how anxious they are, and we really do need each other. And I've seen through a lot of my corporate work the power of growing and evolving together. So I am super excited to announce that I have launched my community, the Challengers Circle, where you get to come in, become a challenger, connect with other people going on personal growth journeys, understand what the circumstances are like, share your challenges, and see how similar we all are. And there are so many resources in there to help you, from a personal coach to guide you through it, different chat rooms to share experience, different labs where you can literally practice boundary setting, practice saying no, practice regulating your nervous system. Whatever it is that your challenge is, we have created such an in-depth platform that can really, really help you create the change you want to see because it's not just about the information. It's not just about knowing. It's about the ability to apply. And because we believe in this so wholeheartedly, we are giving anyone who joins a full free month of everything that we offer with the personal guidance of a coach to make sure you are supported, you are accountable, and you are being guided through. And after those 30 days, you can decide which level works for you. If you want to stay in the free level, that is perfect. We want to see what you use. And between now and the end of the year, if you do decide that one of the paid tiers is what's best for you, we are offering $100 off to anyone who joins before 2026. So if you are ready to accept the challenge, truly enact the change that you've always craved in your life, now is the time, and we have created the zone, the arena for you. It's time to come home to yourself, and that is what the Challenger Circle stands for. Understanding, yeah, isn't the same thing as being able to implement and integrate. So
Yeah.
I think it's an important space because with perfectionism, there's a lot of judgment. And if you're listening to us and you're like, okay, yes, that is me. I do follow the perfectionism mindset because it has helped me stay safe and it has given me a sense of control, but I'm tired of it and I don't want it. I also want you to approach it from a compassionate lens, understanding like you can have that understanding in your head, but your body is still going to feel threatened when you try and make a different choice. That's okay. It doesn't mean you're doing something wrong, but that's an important awareness that you can expect as you try and play with the adventure of what it might be like to not be attached to a sense of perfectionism.
Yeah. I mean, well, so let's so let's take a little sidebar and say, in that moment, what are we recognizing? How do we recognize what we're doing,
Mhm.
right? To help this audience, if they are relating to this, how do we recognize what we're doing? And then, yeah, you said it's not as easy as it sounds, but there are at least some baby steps we can take to start changing or shifting our focus to let's use adventure instead of the plan.
Yeah,
So one thing I notice for me, it's tension, right? So me, my neck, my shoulders might start gripping, even my hands and my fists might start gripping. I want things to go a certain way and they're not, it's not working. So I might feel frustration, anger, right? So those are some of the signs things aren't going the way that I wanted them to. How about for you?
for me, it's impatience, frustration, irritation, jaw tension, um,
Mm.
hyper focus too,
Oh,
and extremely detail oriented in like the most annoying way.
yeah. And you might even notice other people kind of saying, it's not that bad, or don't worry, or you'll be fine. And even that can get you kind of,
Oh, I'm just like, fuck off. If it was that easy, I would totally stop this, but I'm in this, so go the fuck away and let me deal with my own shit.
yeah. Oh, you presented that beautifully. So yeah, and then recognize that there's going to be resistance.
Yeah,
I think is
for
the
sure.
main that kind of encompasses this entire experience. You're going to experience resistance
For sure.
to what is, and that right there should be the clue, right? I'm resisting what has actually happened. It shouldn't be this way. It's not the way that I wanted.
Why is it so hard?
Why is this so hard? It shouldn't be this difficult. So I am experiencing resistance. And that is the clue that what you might need to do is go from a very constricted perspective to
Interesting.
opening things up and saying what else might be true.
Okay, so I heard this really great analogy around this because you said one of the things you said earlier is typically when we get to this resistance point, whether it's forward or in reflection, I should have done this more. It should be easier. I could try this harder. Like we always look at it from an effort perspective, right?
Mm,
And I heard this really great analogy, and I think it's a really important plug to help people shift once they recognize the resistance. So if you've ever been skiing, like snow skiing, you know that there's like a chairlift that takes you to the top of the mountain and then you ski down, right? Well, imagine there wasn't a chairlift and the only way to get up the mountain was to either ski up it or take your skis off and walk up the mountain.
yeah,
What you've been snow skiing before, yes?
yes.
What strategy would you try?
If those were my only two,
Those are your only two options.
well, I'd be taking the skis off,
Right.
trudging up that mountain.
Exactly. So most people don't realize they can take the skis off. They just keep thinking, I have to ski up the mountain. And when they start going and they get tired and they slide down, they think, I just need to try harder. I just need to try harder. More effort, more effort, more effort. Sometimes it's a different strategy. It's not always about effort. So I plug that in because when we get to that resistance point, how do we make it possible to work with our system and the threat response, right? To your point, notice the resistance, but remember, maybe it's not about effort. Maybe the plan you have, that resistance of this shouldn't be this hard, maybe this is part of how you get to the adventures. Hold on, I've been trying to ski up the hill. I need to take my skis off. What would that look like
Yeah.
in this situation? And try a different strategy.
Yeah, we need a different strategy. And so, how do we get to that though? Like, how do we start expanding our mind and opening it up? And then, but also keeping in focus, right? What we want to do is keep in focus the destination, right? That we're heading towards.
Well, I think that's exactly how you do it, right? So it's the resistance is the awareness, and then it's, hold on, maybe it's a different strategy. Okay, so what's the goal? The goal is
Yeah,
whatever the end outcome is, to have a good holiday, to
right.
lose weight, to have a new habit, to unlearn perfectionism, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
if
right,
that's
so
the
now
end
we're
goal.
plugging into what you always call is our why. What are
Yeah,
we doing this for?
that's
Right?
motivation,
So
right?
like right now we're breaking this down to once we feel resistance, we that's our aha. Oh, wait a minute, I am resisting what's going on right now. Let me just take a step back. Then we're looking at that destination. Where is it that we're heading? Well, one, oh no, two is I think is our strategy. We have a
Strategy.
strategy in place and it's not getting us to where we want to go.
Mm. There's,
Doesn't look the way that we wanted it to. So maybe there needs to be a change in strategy.
yeah, we have to look at the options.
And then three, all right, if I have to change my strategy, I don't just change the strategy and start going. I need to reconnect with where I'm going. So that might look like checking in with ourselves on what our intentions are. Maybe it's checking in with our values and what's really important to us.
Yeah, I mean, in my story with my friend, it was like, isn't this about adventure? That was me kind of
Yeah.
like reconnecting us to the purpose of our trip was adventure.
So once we reconnect with that, then that's taking our perspective out even further and saying, okay, as long as I'm in tune with or in alignment with why I'm actually doing this, then I can expand my perspective around how I'm going to get there. Because right now, skiing up this hill is not working.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And
And
I can tell
I
you
can
one
tell
thing
you
that's
one thing that's
really humbly been reminded to me is the mindset of pursuit and how that impacts strategy and experience. Like when I was early in my building of change by challenge, I was much more scarcity minded. I wanted to get any clients. I was scared. And it felt like a chore. It felt like work. And like I really do believe we have the best job on earth where we get to help empower people and to like be them their greatest selves. And now that like change by challenge is where it is, but also more importantly, even before it got there, like I realized if this was my mindset going through all this, I was never going to get where I wanted to go because I was mentally lifting more weight with how my mind was viewing the challenge, the road, the strategy, right?
yeah.
So I think realizing that like my mantra, what's for me will find me, that kind of surrender into adventureland, so to speak,
Mhm.
it's given me freedom to experience the inevitable hiccups of plans as lessons. Like, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this? If this is here, there's a reason why it's here. And I use that a lot in my life to think, oh, I'm going to teach someone something about this. Like, I'm going to use this as an example for my coaching clients one day. And
Yeah,
knowing that, like, my adversities have a purpose, even as I'm in the middle of them, help me because people learn a lot through stories.
you do. And I think you made a really great point there is that this experience, whether it looks the way that we want it to or not, it doesn't take away from the value of it.
Right. And like, I was listening to a podcast this morning about the value of regret. And he talked about how he made a regret resume where he wrote down all of his regrets. He wrote down the lessons he got from each regret he had and how he chooses either now or future to be different in similar pursuits, showing that the challenges, the hiccups, the perceived failures did serve a person purpose because they taught him something to improve himself or how he kind of leads his work by having that mistake. Like when we make a mistake, it sucks. No one likes it. It's the ickiest. But the likelihood of us making that mistake again dramatically decreases the moment we experience it because of how icky it feels, right?
Yeah,
So when we're on this perfectionist journey and we're trying to rewrite our system's going to give us some of those icky feelings. But again, that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It means you're learning something about how to lead yourself versus trying to control yourself.
Yeah. So those are the gold nuggets that we pick up along the way. And I think that's taking us right back on the track on our journey where we took a stop and said, well, what do we do in those moments? And I think we highlight it, right? We have like a kind of like three-step plan. So then ultimately we're going to choose the adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? That's kind of the goal here is that let's choose adventure over the plan that was originally in place.
I have a question.
Sure.
When if you're a perfectionist and you're shifting into adventure with different strategies, do you think it's easier if they come up with multiple strategies so they don't fall back into attachment of just the next plan?
What a great question. I mean, my level of perfectionism, I definitely always had a plan B.
Okay.
We called it the contingency plan.
Okay.
Um, so that goes back to my coordinating days when I used to have to do those large events and stuff like that. So, but I would say, if that makes you feel better at first, right? I always recommend baby steps. You should have, if it's really important to you, you should have contingency plans. But I would argue that the adventure is one of the contingency plans. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
This concept that I have come across so widely in coaching and in real life is this idea that we might not always get exactly what we want,
So we get exactly what we need.
but we're going to get exactly what we need. Right.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
what is it? The Rolling Stones?
Yeah. You can't always get what you want.
But if you
You
try
try
sometimes,
sometimes.
you get what you need. So sometimes the adventure and choosing adventure is always what you were meant to do in this moment. Those little nuggets that you were pointing out, those little lessons that you come to learn throughout this process are actual gold, and that you'll be able to use those later in feeling the confidence to move forward, probably in some other adventure. Two, the outcome of the adventure may look, the adventure itself will be different than what you proposed, but the outcomes may also be different. And what I'd like to suggest here is that a lot of times when this happens and we create resistance, what we're resisting is what we actually want to
Oh,
receive.
God, I know. I know so much. Like, I have two things. One, I think it's important that we look at it from both sides, right? Because when people do this, and I tend to be friends with a lot of people who do this because I tend to go into adventure mode a little more easily. I have my perfectionisty moments, but that's not as common for me anymore. So a lot of people in my life do this. And what I notice about it is they look at like this way of thinking has helped me so much in the past. They don't see how it's hurt them, but also they don't see how the adventure has actually given them more than what they originally thought they'd have. And like,
Yeah.
I'm curious if you can think of an example for that, because I know for me, like, Change by Challenge was a blog. That's how Change by Challenge started. Like my training clients were wanting to record me during our sessions because I was motivating them. And they asked me to write a blog. And I had a huge insecurity about writing. I had horrible English. That's like where my learning disability is. And so I was really insecure about it, but they asked me, and if my journey is to serve. So I wrote a few, and I remember showing it to some people, and it started as a blog. And then COVID hit, and I was in coaching school, and like it became this living, breathing entity that helps so many more people in the most beautiful way that I couldn't have dreamed up. My fears would have stopped me from dreaming this reality into my life.
Yeah.
And having that be such a staple in my life has made it much easier for me to detach from perfectionism because it's like this glowing example of like your idea of what's best might not be best. Like what you think is perfect is probably limited. Maybe
Yeah.
it's not about what you think and more about the experience of getting there and letting it become what it's inevitably going to become if you continue staying aligned with the values in pursuit of the actions.
Exactly. And then when you look back in those moments, and this is easy to do today, right? Like
Yeah.
when you look back on things 2020 with that 2020 vision, I don't know about you, but well, actually, I can assume probably that you've had this experience, and we've all had this experience where maybe we thought, okay, so for an example, I had a boyfriend. I started dating him in high school and dated him all through college. My whole vision of my future had this guy in it, right? That was the way. This is the way.
Mhm.
Um, Now, when that relationship dissolved and in the middle of it, there was a lot of resistance to
Mm.
that. And there was a lot of emotion wrapped around that. But at the end of the day, when I look back on it, if that hadn't dissolved, if I hadn't woken up, if I hadn't stepped out of that, and if I hadn't had the courage to go on the adventure
Mm-hmm.
instead of on the plan, then my life would look very different than it does today.
100%.
And I would be without so many important aspects of my life that I cherish every single day that I'm so grateful for. One of them being my daughter,
Mm.
right? With my husband. Can you imagine? I can't even imagine life without my husband today,
Oh,
right?
no.
And how it's evolved and how the two of us have evolved together. And so if I had kept on this relationship track and had just stuck to the plan and had done everything perfectly, there's no way that I would have had the enriching life and the life experiences that I
Oh,
got to have on going on that adventure.
right.
And so taking that step out and saying, look, maybe the universe is in my way for a reason here.
Maybe
I'm
it's not
experiencing,
giving you what you want, but it's definitely going to give you what you need.
yeah. And so I learned so much through all those processes. I learned from every man that I interacted with after that and what those individual relationships meant to me and what I learned from them. And I honestly, it feels like at this point that each step prepared me
Hmm.
for being exactly who I needed to be to meet my husband.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it reminds me of this other very funny but brief story at my bachelorette party. My youngest cousin, she came back from seeing some people. She was crying, and I was drunk. Does not defend my what I did, but you'll understand it. So she
Yeah.
comes back and she tells me that, I'm like, what's wrong? She goes, friend A is mad at me because I'm mad at friend B and I haven't told friend B yet. And I laughed. Bad reaction. And she's like, Laura. And I was like, I'm sorry. Come here, come here. And I kind of ushered her over to the side where inside my mom's car, a friend of mine was pumping. She was crying, watching a video of her daughter because she showed up for me. It was a great friend, but she was missing her daughter and she was pumping. And I was like, I know it won't make sense to you now, but what you're going through is real and valid. And you need to go through challenges like that to prepare you for challenges like my friend is dealing with in the car. She chose to show up for me because it's who she wanted to be, but that also means there's a toll for her of missing her daughter. Right
Yeah.
now, you're feeling the pain of this friendship breach, and it makes sense to me. And you need to experience it to build the resilience to continue tackling the challenges they get harder and harder as we get older, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's an important thing to recognize that the challenges we continue to try and avoid because we're scared, I understand why, but we're also kind of taking from our own growth, our own resilience, our own, like we're stealing depth from ourselves,
Yeah.
you know?
I agree.
And we don't have to like that. I'm not asking anyone to like it. I'm just asking us to consider in those moments, is it worth it?
Exactly. And I think if you could borrow wisdom from your future self,
Mm.
you would be able to see that it was worth it. And so we're back to trust again.
So map this out for me. So as we kind of close up, I have this quote that I want to share, but I want you to map the journey we took because it went very succinctly in understanding the process, the nuances, the freedoms, the limitations of what perfectionism is, why we use it, and how it limits us and what's possible when we choose to expand.
Yeah, so let's walk. You want to walk through those steps again?
Yeah, so
We
we
started
start
with
at we
perfectionism.
notice, right?
Yeah. And so we notice the resistance. And that could look like a lot of shoulds. It should be like this. It shouldn't go like that. So we're feeling resistance. Life is coming at us. It is a certain way, and we don't like it.
Mm,
Then the next step is taking a step out of that space,
mm.
giving ourselves a breather to say, maybe I need to take a step back and re-evaluate my strategy.
Yeah, stop skiing up the hill.
Got it? Yeah, the skiing up the hill is not working. So, and I'm in resistance to reality, and nothing good ever comes of that.
No. So what do I want?
So, what is it that I want? So, number three is plugging back into our big why. What's
Hmm.
our intention here? What are our values? What are we trying to express through this behavior that we're so adamant is the only way? And once we realign with what we're truly here to do, as long as our eye is on that prize, we can kind of, I think, step forward would be to start to relax and realize that we're on the adventure,
Hmm.
that life is actually working for us in this moment, not against us.
Hmm.
And that if we take, let, you know, the universe or God or whoever we believe in to take half the wheel, right?
Hmm.
Because we're creators, and we give up a little bit of that control to say maybe this is going to work out in the way that it's supposed to work
Yeah. Maybe I'm
out.
gonna get what I need.
I'm going to get what I need out of this. And so that brings up for me curiosity, like, how is this going to turn out? And
Hmm.
what am I going to receive from going on this adventure? If I let go of my well-laid plans and I decide to go on the adventure, what might I get? And then recognizing that it could look completely different and you could be getting something out of it that you hadn't even expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautifully said. And there's two quotes I want to share to kind of close us off. One, ironically enough, when you make peace with the fact that the purpose of life is not happiness, but rather growth and experience, happiness comes as a natural byproduct. When you are not seeking it as the objective, it will find its way to you, right? And the reason that quote sticks out is comes from the very beginning of the podcast when we were talking about like, if it goes this way, then I'll get this. Like we're craving some sense of security, joy, fulfillment, success. Like we're wanting a felt sensation on the other side of the action, right?
Yeah.
But the attachment to that ultimately robs us of the growth and experience, which is what will give us that felt sensation. And that's where the
Yeah.
co-creation, I think, is a good call out. The last one is when I'm really in the mud, when I'm struggling to let it go, to see the purpose, to see the lesson. I have this quote that becomes a background on my phone. So my husband always knows when I'm in the shit. It's I called this experience into my life so I can transcend it. And it's just like that subtle way to remind me, like, yes, it's hard. And whether I like it or not, my power lies in recognizing I'm bringing this to me because it's something I'm supposed to overcome. And it's it might not sound empowering in the moment, but when you're really in the hardest moments, for me, it's been like, oh fuck, this is so hard, but I'm gonna transcend it. This and I just you'll figure it out, but goddamn. And it's just like it keeps me going. It gives me hope through that
Yeah.
process that I don't know what it's gonna look like. I don't know how it's gonna go, but I know I'll transcend it because that's why it's here.
Yeah. And that connects back with that self trust again. So it's like here's what happened inside my brain when I heard you say that is like, wow, I'm actually excited to see how I overcome this.
Yeah.
Right? Like how I'm very curious to see how I transcend this moment and what it's going to give me.
Mhm.
So we've fully at this point let go of the idea of how it had to happen. And now we are knee deep in curiosity and excitement for the adventure and what gifts we're about to receive.
Mm. Beautifully said. And this really came at the perfect time. Thank you so much for taking us on this journey, this adventure to help us choose the life we want to experience more and understand certain habits we have, why we have them, and how capable we are of rewriting them. I think it's a really powerful message. I think there's a lot of relatability in our individual experience, but also with that, a lot of possibility. So, as always, thank you so much for being here. Um,
So always happy to be here. Love this show.
And to our audience, reflect and notice how you're reflecting. Notice if you're thinking of the plans that did work out or didn't work out, what you learned, what you didn't. And look, I dare you to look at the things that worked out better than you could have ever envisioned them, but you don't give it credit for that. To just give yourself space to notice and see what can be possible for you. And if that resonates with you, share this with a friend and let's lift everybody up together. Until next time. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of The Challenges of Change. If you're ready to stop stressing and reclaim your sense of worth, be sure to visit my website at www.changebychallenge.com. There, you'll find loads of resources, blog posts, and information on how to work with me, Laura, as your personal mindset coach. Remember, if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. Don't let burnout or any other obstacle hold you back from living your best life. Take the first steps towards positive transformation today. Thank you again for listening. Stay confident, stay inspired, and embrace the challenges of change. Until next time.